React and Redux, though often paired together, serve distinct purposes in the architecture of modern web applications. React, at its core, is a declarative, component-based library for building user interfaces. It excels at rendering views and managing component-level state, but when applications grow in complexity, especially when different parts of the UI need to share and update common state, React alone is not sufficient. This is where Redux enters the picture. Redux is a predictable state container inspired by the Flux architecture. Flux introduced the concept of unidirectional data flow, where state changes are funneled through a central dispatcher, triggered by actions, and handled by stores. Redux takes this idea and simplifies it, enforcing a single source of truth, the store. In Redux, application state lives in a single immutable tree, and the only way to change this state is by dispatching actions, plain JavaScript objects that describe what happened. Reducers are pure functions that receive the current state and an action, and return a new state. This deterministic nature of reducers enables time travel debugging, hot reloading, and reproducible state transitions. When an action is dispatched, it is intercepted by reducers that determine how to compute the next state based on the action type and payload. To integrate Redux with React, one traditionally uses the connect function from the React Redux library. This higher-order function connects React components to the Redux store, enabling them to access state and dispatch actions without directly subscribing to the store. The connect function takes two arguments: map state to props, which maps the store's state to the component's props, and map dispatch to props, which maps action dispatching functions to props. This encapsulation fosters separation of concerns and keeps components declarative and testable. As applications become more dynamic and involve side effects such as API calls or asynchronous flows, Redux middleware becomes essential. Redux Saga is one such middleware that leverages ES6 generators to handle side effects in a clean and manageable way. Inside Sagas, you might use the call effect to invoke asynchronous functions, such as HTTP requests, and the put effect to dispatch actions. For example, a typical Saga that fetches data might call an API method, then put a success or failure action based on the result. This clear separation between side effects and state transitions adheres to the principles of functional programming and enhances testability. Overall, the React Redux architecture, rooted in the ideas of Flux, provides a robust pattern for building scalable, maintainable applications. By embracing unidirectional data flow, centralizing state, and managing side effects with Sagas, developers gain fine-grained control over state and logic, while keeping the UI reactive and predictable. React Router. The distinction between React Router and React Router DOM is subtle but important, especially when understanding how routing works in different environments. React Router. This is the core library that provides the generic routing logic. It includes the foundational components, APIs, and utilities for defining and managing routes, such as 1. Routes. 2. Route. 3. Use navigate. 4. Use params. 5. Use location. 6. The internal routing engine. However, React Router itself is platform agnostic. It does not know or care whether your app runs in a web browser, on a mobile device, like React Native, or in a server-rendered environment. React Router DOM. This is a web-specific implementation of React Router. It builds on top of React Router and adds bindings that integrate the router with the DOM, including 1. Browser Router, uses HTML5 History API. Wraps your entire application and enables navigation via the HTML5 History API, push state, replace state. 2. Hash Router, uses the URL hash for routing. Uses the URL hash for routing. Useful when you can't configure server-side support for clean URLs. 3. Link, an anchor tag replacement. A React-friendly tag replacement that performs client-side navigation. 4. Navigate, a component to programmatically redirect .iv. Use search params for working with query strings. So when you're building a web application, you use React Router DOM because it includes everything React Router has plus DOM-specific features. For example, you can create a component app with a root element, browser router, and children elements, links, routes, and route. Nested routes are implemented via outlet. Programmatic navigation is done using the useNavigate hook.